Hey, this is Tom Jacobs from tdjacobs.com, and I'm an evolutionary astrologer and also a channel and an energy worker. I do all kinds of different healing work. Um, this video is for the Sun in Capricorn forecast for 2019/2020. Today, it's just a little bit before the winter solstice on December 21st, 2019. So first I'm going to talk about the transition from Sagittarius to Capricorn, and this will be applicable to any planet doing that, and the sun right now. Um, and then I'll talk about the winter solstice and how I see it. And then I'll go through some aspects and patterns and stuff for the month involving the sun, including the two lunations, the two eclipses, the new moon on the 25th late Pacific time, and then the new moon, yeah, and then the full the Cancer full moon on January 10th. This used to be part of my subscription service. So essentially, a lot of my forecasting was behind a wall, so to speak. Um, and I still do that subscription service. This month starts year 7. It's month 73. Part of me is perplexed, but I love doing it. And actually is the way that it has helped me keep current on astrological events instead of me going into my 12th house channeling or intuitive cave all the time. Every month I come down the mountain, so to speak, and make notes on the happenings for the month. And so part of the subscription service for the subscribers themselves are other forecasts. So the outer planet patterns and the meaning of that, and also then Mercury, Venus, Mars, the inner planets. And then they also get a class almost every month, about 10 times a year. Some of those include mini readings. Um, and there's also an option for guidance calls. Check in with your guides once a month. And yeah, perks on almost everything I offer. So reduced rates for subscribers. You can subscribe monthly or yearly. You can check that out at tdjacobs.com. The link to the subscription page will be in the video description. So anyway, let's talk about the Sagittarius to Capricorn transition. Whenever we talk about signs that are next to each other, they have very different ways of doing things. Think about a lens of the zodiac or a sign in terms of a lens of expression, a way things are happening and the motivation behind them, why things are happening. And so the ones that are next to each other, like these two, Sagittarius is, kind of, outwardly directed fire, and then Capricorn is kind of inwardly directed earth. So they're very different qualities of energy. Sagittarius is about expansion, stepping out, reaching out, hoping, kind of like a leaping, sometimes without looking first, going with gut instinct and expanding and taking a risk and having faith, right? So there's external fire acting on inspiration. Capricorn is as I said, kind of internal. When I say external, you can correlate that to what you've learned about signs being masculine, and then internal, feminine. Really, the masculine feminine thing for me is that masculine does and feminine is. So even though Capricorn is about building things over the long term, it's about a serious kind of attitude that does conserve energy and isn't always outgoing. It's a cardinal sign, but it's not the same leaping energy as Sagittarius. So when the sun's in Sagittarius or any planet, it's working through the lens of expansion, hopefulness, running on gut instinct. And you might find out that you believe things and that things seem to go well. You intuit that you're correct, and so you leap forward and you run forward. When something goes into Capricorn, then you have this really important time for inward reflection, evaluation of if something is useful and helpful, practical and grounded. So think about Sagittarius. One of the great ways to use Sagittarian energy is to brainstorm and envision future possibilities. A great way to use Capricorn is to seriously reflect on if what you're doing is valuable and useful, and if it should be continued. So in Sagittarius, you might throw 10 things against the wall to see if any of them stick. In Capricorn, you have to realistically assess if any of them stuck to the wall. So elsewhere in the subscriber materials, I'm talking about Jupiter's transition from Sagittarius to Capricorn, and And even in the context of the Pluto-Saturn dance in Capricorn, that is exact, for the only exact conjunction of it is January 12th, 2020. So just in a 3 weeks or something. But it's been happening for using over 5 degrees from, I want to say March, late March or something of 2019, and it'll go until November of 2020. So quite a long time, over a year and a half of this dance within Capricorn. And then Jupiter gets to Capricorn. So there's a setup here to deal with difficult things and bring faith to it, with Jupiter there. And then the sun goes into Capricorn, puts light on how you're doing, if you're having faith that things can improve, if you're taking, productive action, making choices that are grounded in practical reality. But that transition from Sun in Sagittarius to Sun in Capricorn is about looking realistically at how things are going and assessing the damage, or assessing what could be improved, or what perhaps needs repaired, or and again, there is this thing about building for the future, and sometimes that Capricorn process is a quiet one where you are looking at plans. You're like, is that gonna, you're like constructing something in your mind, you're making blueprints, you're structuring something, then you begin to build it. The other thing about Sagittarius is that in that, inspired fire way, it's about right now, this moment. And Capricorn is about this calm, centered building a future. Of course, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which encourages you to take risks, to believe in yourself, to have faith that things can be better. Capricorn, of course, is ruled by Saturn, which asks you to be mature, structured, to bring discipline to what you do, and to have what you do bring allow for the promise of a better future. So Jupiter's in Sagittarius kind of thinking is, I can envision a better way of doing this, or I can envision a better destination. Capricorn's thing is, okay, let's realistically assess how to improve something and move into a better future. So brainstorming is extremely useful, and sober assessment of facts is also extremely useful. For some people from Sagittarius to Capricorn, even thinking about inner or outer planets that make this transition, the ingress to Capricorn can kind of seem like a downer, because you become aware of what needs to be built or how things are going, right? That critical judging nature of Saturn comes in, right? Well, I guess I should stop brainstorming and just do that thing, right? But when the sun does that, it is the winter solstice. So let's talk about that for a minute. It's a kind of astrological new year. Figure there are kind of two for the collective. One is the vernal equinox, the one in the spring, which I guess is like March 20, 22nd, something like that, where the sun goes from Pisces, the 12th sign of our zodiac, into the first sign, Aries, spring, right? The sense of renewal, and birds and the bees starting to buzz and hum, and the flowers, and the kind of new life idea, right? That's one kind of astrological new year. When you play through the cycle of Aries initiation into Aries initiation into I'm losing my train of thought because I'm thinking about three things at once. All the way through to Aquarius, and then Pisces, like letting something go, and then an Aries beginning. So that's one kind. The winter solstice is a kind of new year too, because it's like a new moon energy, where the death of the solar principle, and then it is born again, right? And that's where we get the whole thing about the rising of the Christ, right, with Jesus and the whole Christianity thing. Sorry, my brain is totally messed up right now. I'm like trying to I should pause the video and think through it, but I'm going to push through because the sun's in the last like 2 minutes of Sagittarius, so I'm gonna push through. So a lot of people feel an inward pull to be quiet, but it's December 21st. In some parts of the world, in some cultures, it's holiday time. People are running around finishing holiday shopping, and running around and giving each other plates of cookies at gatherings and things like that, and potlucks and whatever. Introducing clever sweaters to social gatherings or whatever. But there is this need to allow that Capricorn quiet moment, right? Even this video, I wasn't going to do it. I've had it planned for days, and logistical things have had me put it off, and I'm sitting here dealing with emotions, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of just need to have like a solstice moment. People even do celebratory things for the solstice. it makes sense for the summer solstice around June 20th, 21st, 22nd, because that's when in part of the world, in the northern hemisphere, there's the most light during the day. Well, for us in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice has the least amount of light, right? So there's kind of a natural new moon kind of energy to be quiet. So some people at this time of year will get sick because their bodies need to rest, their spirits, their minds, their hearts need to rest, but we push ourselves surrounding holiday times. So the solstice, I encourage you to let yourself be quiet, you know? Um, okay, so then I want to say, as far as New Year type things, there are two things on the individual level that can feel that way and function that way. I just want to put your attention on these four things, right? Like the vernal equinox is the, right, one kind of New Year for us collectively. And then the winter solstice is kind of like an ending of something. Now we're quiet, and then we kind of begin something else. But the other ones are your solar return. Your birthday is a renewal, right? Each year individually. And then also significant crossings of the sun to the angles in your birth chart. When the sun crosses your ascendant from the 12th house, time of quiet, well, then there's a sense of renewal. So anyway, so I just want to put your attention on that as well. There are different ways to think about um, new beginnings, right? When we look at astrological energies collectively and individually. So the sun enters Capricorn Saturday, December 21st at looks like 8:20 p.m. in just about an hour from now, Pacific time. And it will begin a conjunction to Jupiter and a square to Chiron. The Chiron square will be exact Monday, December 23rd at 1.5 degrees. And just think about the sun entering Capricorn, and the Jupiter is already there. So the Jupiter says you can work on something, you can have faith, but you have to work practically on something. Yes, things can get better, Jupiter says. And actually, if you're interested in, I think it's probably 45 minutes, I did put up for sale Jupiter and Capricorn MP3, where I framed Jupiter and Capricorn's ingress in terms of sorry, I'm in a public place. I don't know if people are going to be walking, but in terms of Saturn and Capricorn with Pluto already dancing there for a long time. So how can we understand Jupiter's cheerleading or encouragement in terms of these challenges that we've been undergoing? That MP3 is on my site on the Learn Astrology page. So yeah, so the Chiron in Aries is about, and I do explain this for subscribers in the Outer Planet video, or Outer Planet audio forecast, but Chiron and Aries, we're wondering if we can be assertive, if we can say yes and no, if we can want things, if we can feel anger or pain and express it, because Aries is that natural, unmodulated, unmediated expression, right? Instinctive reaction. Sun in Capricorn says, with Jupiter, have faith that things can get better, but you have to work hard, or realistically assess how things are going, and don't let your distraction about boundary issues or your reactions to someone or their reactions to you, don't let those things distract you. So the longer term thing is Chiron and Aries, wondering how we're going to deal with our frustration and our anger and our hurt. And you know, we want to maybe sometimes be angry when we're hurt, but is that right? Anyway, Sun in Capricorn is challenging that and saying, don't get distracted. Be honest about what you feel, realistically assess what's happening, but don't get too distracted. Chiron is still super slow after stationing on December 12th. It was retrograde for several months, and then on December 12th, it seemed to turn around and stand still. So that, you know, Chiron, there might be this thing with Chiron about feeling stuck, right? And the Sun in Capricorn says, don't get too distracted. You have work to do. Okay. Now with this Chiron thing, I wrote, you know, consider if you or someone else has an unmet need, and then who seems to be responsible for it? Because Sun in Capricorn with Jupiter may be a kind of, you know, how can I mentor you? How can I help you and support you and assist you? And so you have to make sure you're not putting your stuff on others and they're not putting their stuff on you, is part of the thing here. You know, sometimes patterns of blaming, or if you're lonely and don't know why, or you're expecting something from somebody, the Sun in Capricorn remedy here is, okay, yeah, you know, you're feeling that way, I'm feeling that way. Okay, great. Like let's each of us take responsibility for our own expression and our own emotions. Okay. And also, what I want to say with the sun going into Capricorn, something important, and I think it will come out with stuff like the square to the Chiron. It's only for a couple of days, but I think it's important to think about. And it's that to use Capricorn energy in a healthy way. Now, as I said, Saturn and Pluto dancing in Capricorn may have us under pressure or feeling challenges. We might not be sure if we can, stand up to the challenges in front of us or measure up to the pressure that's put on us. And so then Jupiter goes in, sure, believe in yourself, but you have to work hard. And the sun goes in. The sun will put light on if you judge yourself for anything. If you have a negative way of doing Saturn energy, the sun will reveal it. Even if the Saturn Pluto didn't make you see it clearly, and the Jupiter in the last few days it's been in Capricorn hasn't made you see it so clearly. Yeah, or I guess December 2nd, Jupiter went to Capricorn, so it's been a couple weeks. Time flies. But anyway, the sun will put light on if when something is not mature, you judge it, or if something is not respectable, you judge it, right? One of the things about Saturn and Capricorn energy, or Capricorn energy in general and Saturn in general, is to give ourselves a chance to be a work in progress. Again, realistically assess if something isn't going well or doesn't work correctly. What are you going to beat yourself up because you need to fix something or improve how you do something? Or be more realistic or mature? You're going to beat yourself up about that? So when that, if somebody's having an emotional outburst with Chiron and Aries square the sun, don't judge it. Have compassion, but have good boundaries too. You get to see with Sun and Capricorn where you might use Capricorn energy to be harsh or critical of yourself and or others. There are a lot of people out there who don't want to be harsh to others because they care, but will totally do it to themselves. And so that's one of the functions of the Sun in Capricorn as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, and then that Jupiter conjunction will be exact 4 days later, Friday, December 27th at 5 Capricorn 41, Sun and Jupiter together. Well, then we have the Capricorn new moon solar eclipse. I'll pull up the chart here and go through it. Wednesday, December 25th at 9:13 p.m. Pacific time at 4 degrees Capricorn and 6 minutes. So let me just look here. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of aspects in here. So Capricorn, let's share the screen here. Capricorn, that's it. Why is it doing that? Okay, there. Okay, so here it is. Let's see if that's probably still readable. So it's down here in this mess, down here, conjunct Jupiter. So the new moon solar eclipse. Now, every new moon is this opportunity for a new beginning or allowing something to grow from within. In Capricorn, there's this thing about responsibility and maturity. Well, during the solar eclipse, the solar principle is obscured because the moon partially obscures, or pretty, not fully, but almost all obscures the sun. And you can tell that, by the way, by how close they are to the nodes. The sun's at 4, sun and moon are 4, nodes at 5 and change. So it's almost, it might be considered total. I didn't look that up, but anyway, it's a solar eclipse. So the energy of the moon is emphasized. You and I live our daily lives all the time with sun and moon in some relationship to each other. So logic versus sensation, or expectations and how things should be versus our moment to moment needs, right? The plan versus the reality of what we feel as humans. During an eclipse, when one of them is, so to speak, quieted, or the influence is lessened, there's a balance there. So here it is about the moon in Capricorn is really the emphasized body here. Moon conjunct Jupiter in Capricorn. So I would say, giving yourself a chance to expand, to have faith that you can grow up or mature or do things in a productive way or achieve something that matters to you. Be ambitious, right? That you can do that. Giving yourself a chance is part of the story. It is square the Chiron, so there may be sensitivity and vulnerability issues coming up where one person needs to function in a mature way, which might be kind of dry and stoic or stolid. And then maybe somebody else is like, why won't you be sensitive toward me because I'm hurting or something? So there's that tension in there that I just talked about with boundaries. This new moon is also trine your retrograde, Uranus and Taurus. And so there's this sense of you've already for months been working on how to streamline how you use your time and energy. You might now have a sense of inward pull with the new moon conjunct Jupiter, about wanting to achieve a certain goal or take a new step toward a new project or some new manifestation, right? And Uranus and Taurus is there saying, that's why you found all these other things kind of a waste of time, because you now need to focus on this. So it's kind of encouraging this new creation at this new moon. And along those lines, about that idea of, giving yourself a chance to be a work in progress and catching the negative Saturnian or Capricorn voice within you. By the way, my book Saturn Returns is nominally, it's about Saturn Returns, but the first part of it and the whole structure of it is based in um, teaching you how to go from that harsh inner judge and critic into a helpful, mentoring, positive coach or parent type figure of Saturn. So that's actually why I wrote the book. I forget I wrote it because I didn't, it's about Saturn Returns, but the point was about this transforming the inner critic and judge into somebody helpful. So if that appeals to you, this might be the month to check that book out. It's called Saturn Returns, Thinking Astrologically. So trying to get you to think about it astrologically instead of just the stereotypes that you've received. But if you catch the negative voice and you know that because of your human tendencies, you might perpetuate that, well, give yourself a chance to let that sit and plant a new seed for allowing yourself to explore becoming better at things instead of judging what you're not good at or judging if you have not been consistent or you don't show up on time or you're disorganized, whatever thing that Saturn wouldn't like or a planet in Capricorn wouldn't like. If you give yourself a chance, then you can roll with those judgments when they start to come up, right? And part of you says, ooh, here's my reflex. I want to be down on myself. Maybe this new moon for you is about not doing that, saying, you know what? Everybody's in a stage of evolution. Everyone's in a stage of maturation, a phase of progressing from one place to another place. And because then if you hold that helpful mentor energy toward yourself, then when things don't go so well, you don't lose a lot of energy through frustration and judgment of yourself. Okay. This is also opposite the asteroid Lucifer in Cancer. And I would say that, if somebody, there's a large Lucifer teaching that's in a Lucifer webinar video I encourage you to check out. It's not about the devil and Satan. I don't want to go on the whole teaching here, but the basic idea is if someone's ego is not aligned with something true, then it can be self-serving, right? We fear being egotistical and selfish when Lucifer's involved. So somebody in your life might need something from you that you can't give them during this new moon because you have to find that inner sense of what's true. This would be somebody kind of making emotional demands or wondering why you don't love them if you don't have time for them, but you're actually regrouping inwardly and having a quiet moment during this new moon, like figuring out what makes you happy, what you need to do to make yourself healthy on a day-to-day basis with this new moon eclipse where the moon energy is stronger, right? Where the moon eclipses the sun, right? I think, let me see, I think that's it for the aspects. Let me just look here. Yeah, I think that's it for the aspects. So I'll go back to my notes and we'll check that out. So what did I say? It was a conjunct, square current, square true. Yeah. Okay, good. So let's move on to just a note on the Sun conjunct the transiting south node December 30th at 8 Capricorn, and the Jupiter is involved. Jupiter's in orb here too. And so the giant flashlight in the sky, Sun, is putting an emphasis or shining light on any collective trends regarding Capricorn, judgment or immaturity or judging immaturity or a focus on ambition that's not grounded but is fear-based, right? If you're loving and ambitious, you create powerfully. If you're fear-based and ambitious, you know grab at straws and maybe even get greedy or something, right? Like you think there's never enough. If you're loving through Capricorn, there's enough. So anyway, the transiting south may point out to us models of Capricorn energy we've received, and it can be about work and business and even government, any kind of authority figures and institutions. Sun is putting a light on those deficiencies and that we need to revisit, right, on that day. But then this whole thing starts, which is this process that actually is a little longer. So just bear with me as I explain this. that Saturn, Pluto, Capricorn, and Capricorn conjunction um, kind of starts as a sun. There's like a little preview of that when the sun conjuncts Ceres around this time. So sun's going to be with Ceres for a little bit here. But then we get into, just bear with me, I'm going to do this a little out of order. But the Cancer full moon partial lunar eclipse on Friday, January 10th, 11:22 a.m. Pacific time at 20 Cancer. It's exactly 20. So let me pull up this other chart and kind of run through the themes of this, and then get into the okay, there we go. So ignore the houses with these charts. I just do that to make sure it's exact. But it's up here in this mess up here. So it's a full moon in Cancer and a partial lunar eclipse. So the emphasis is on the sun. Normally, for every full moon, I'd say that there's a the habit of the sun in Capricorn, the reason, the kind of plan. There's then a course correction or balancing opportunity with the moon symbolism to not get stuck in the pattern of the sun's energy wherever it is. Like, what about this? And wait, I need this. And that might change the rhythm to try to bring in balance between these two, right? So the Capricorn thing is all about productivity and responsibility and maturity and blah, blah, blah. Then, and let's see, the sun is, it's beyond the Jupiter now, but it's conjunct Mercury and Ceres and Pluto and Saturn. So you're seeing things about this tension. This is on January 10th, with the exact conjunction of Pluto Saturn's on the 12th, right, 2 days later. So there's quite a lot of emphasis on this, including Mercury and Ceres. Mercury, the need to communicate, the need to connect dots and ask questions and do research, but also communicate, right? You might need to talk about things more, and you might feel you have to express things, right? And you might feel you have to express your frustration. And Ceres there, you might be trying to figure out how to take care of something, how to nurture yourself, or how to, provide or be responsible in a certain way. Then the moon comes along and says, but wait, you're human, you're sensitive, take time to care for your needs, right? In this soft, vulnerable way. But then it's a partial lunar eclipse, so this principle of the sun becomes loud again. And so you might think you don't have time for self-care, but think about Saturn and Capricorn, and of course this is wrapped up with Ceres energy as well, over here on the Capricorn side. Think about that set of symbols, and the axis pair of Capricorn Cancer is all about nurturing. But Capricorn, and then Saturn's way of doing it, is to build structures to care for you, while Cancerian way of doing it is to nurture you personally. I used to say quite often, Cancerian approach to helping you or caring about you and your health and your well-being would be to feed you and listen to your troubles and give you a shoulder to cry on. Capricorn's way is to build structures in society so you can thrive and prosper. It cares about you. Or the example I used to use is build roads and schools to send your kids so they can grow up and be healthy and productive people too. So it cares about you, but it's concrete and practical. And I think with the sun and Ceres and Mercury joining Saturn and Pluto, there's a real emphasis on proactive action, but you have to decide to not be overwhelmed by the enormity of some feeling, which is what Saturn and Pluto have been talking about for quite a long time. This is square Juno and Libra, so there may be good advice from other people. There may be bad advice, but you might need to really focus on what you need to do and what is the sober path through things, right? It's square Eris in Aries, so there might be some interpersonal issues where people's buttons are pushed along the way. If you need to do this for yourself and you're therefore not available for somebody, somebody might be upset and you have to work through it and deal with it. The emphasis here is on the Capricorn planets. But remember, Ceres is here, so it's not about ignoring your needs. It's about productively approaching them. Ceres has this fierce parental energy. Stay tuned. In a few months, I'm doing another round of Cerealia, Festival of Ceres, and where you get channeled material every day for, last week it was every day for a week. I think it was a bit much time-wise, so this year, I think it starts on April 19th or something, goes to May 2nd for 2 weeks, Every other day, you're going to get the channel material. And you can also opt for a series reading, a 20-minute reading on series in your chart where I explain what series is about for you. Anyway, it's a channeled home study thing where you work through it bit by bit to uncover aspects, healthy aspects of Ceres. We think of Ceres as the mother archetype, and she freaks out when her daughter Persephone or Proserpine is kidnapped, and but she's the harvest goddess, and she provides, and she takes people under her wing when they're sick or when they're not mature and need to grow up. So fostering kids or being a mentor of different ways, as well as literal parenthood, fit with Ceres. And anyway, that's part of the answer for this Capricorn business here, right? How can you create practical structures to care for yourself, right? All right, so back to the notes here. And then here we go with this bit. From Sunday, January 5th, Sun will be 5 degrees before Ceres, and then Tuesday, January 21st, on the other side, 5 degrees. So for those about 16 days, in the middle of all this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto stuff, Sun is with Ceres. So there's an emphasis on maturity, responsibility, self-care. Are you caring for yourself or only others? Do you care for others and ignore yourself? All these questions are serious questions. Now, with the Pluto-Saturn deal and the Sun thrown in, which makes things more obvious, and then it's framed by possibilities of immediacy of I need to care for myself with Ceres involved. You might be worn down because of stress, and you might need to do something actively about it now. And I wrote here, can Ceres save the day? Can she rescue you, or in fact anyone else? Is Ceres in your life about other people and what they do or don't do for you? Like other people, and if they're your parent figures or if they're going to save you or rescue you? Can Ceres be about how you mature into taking one thing at a time, addressing specific concrete needs that you yourself have? And can she within you release others of the need for them to care for you, to validate and protect you, to make you feel safe, etc.? And then I have here a note on safety. In terms of the Pluto-Saturn dialogue in many months over in Capricorn, if we don't feel that the external scenario for us is safe, we might chase safety. All this Capricorn stuff is in fact an opportunity to develop inner security by learning deeper levels of self-knowledge and self-trust. Fear is coming up, Pluto. Doubt, shame, guilt, fear, 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 fear. Saturn and Pluto are saying, are you stronger than your fear? Can you handle anything that comes up? All you have to do is decide yes, get grounded, take a deep breath, and then brace for it, and then take care of it, right? So parts of you might feel that you're not safe. You have to develop inner security as the remedy or the medicine for that. This is why I harp on grounding so much, and why in the chakra course, Djehuty, the Ascended Master channel, Hermes, spends so much time on the lower three chakras. I even offer it in 2 halves, chakras 1 through 3, because you really have to spend a lot of time on those chakras to get stable in your body to deal with this stuff and to deal with safety issues. But anyway, if parts of you don't feel safe, you can develop inner security as the medicine. Now, then the Sun will be at 21 Capricorn when Pluto and Saturn officially conjunct on January 12th. 2 degrees away, right? The next day, Sun, Ceres, Pluto, Saturn will all be in the same degree. So I wrote here, picking up the pieces from fearful parts having taken over. Realizing, like regrouping with the knowledge that just because something is hard or many things are difficult doesn't mean that you're not worthy of love or not supported. Difficulty in your life doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're being challenged to grow. But you're always in the process of learning how to be human in more effective ways. Okay. So, and this means from your soul's perspective, right, from the perspective of goddess and God or all that is, you learn over time to go from fear-based motivations to love-based motivations. So the harder things get, if you feel like, the phrase I keep thinking of is like behind the 8 ball, like under pressure, right? Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn. It happens to be the conjunction is happening to hit my chart in very loud ways. And for some of you it is as well, and some of you may not so loud. But the pressure is to make concrete decisions from a more mature, loving standpoint. But in that process, some of us will experience not mature parts of us coming up and freaking out or trying to. So, so this is all about seeing, you can look at this in terms of your life as a long-term evolutionary journey to learn to go from fear into love. Fear and pain will come up. How will you respond? And then all of this, the whole time, all of this is square Eris and Aries. So buttons are going to get pushed. If you mature in a certain way and somebody else feels you're not meeting the needs they have, right? Or you suddenly decide to be confident and mature and somebody else kind of wants to blame you for making life harder for them because they don't want to do the same thing and they feel now exposed for being immature. So, it's like Eris thing can be like, I feel insecure and you are pushing my button because you're being confident. How dare you? So that's an Eris thing. Anyway, all of this is square Eris and Aries. And then it will be in conjunct, within 5 degrees of conjunction to Saturn until January 18th. So, from 5 degrees before Ceres, let me go back here, January 5th until January 18th, 5 degrees on the other side of Saturn, it's this whole period of time where these themes are in play. So that is the end of this video. If you want more, subscribe to my subscription service at tdjacobs.com. Look for the subscription service page. There's like a picture, there's a screen capture from a video of me from several years ago in front of an astrological tarp going like this. I'm making a point, holding my hand. Anyway, you can check that out. And monthly classes, perks on almost everything I offer, perk rates. And there's level 1, which includes all the forecasting stuff in the perks, and level 2, which is everything, all that, plus monthly guidance check-ins. And these are going really well. I'm really happy about these. I love doing them, but people are getting a lot out of them, where basically 15 minutes once a month to ask your guides questions. Anyway, so you can check that out. And you can do the subscription monthly or yearly. Yearly, you can sign up whenever. And you can also get a 1-month trial, like a one-off month whenever. But the monthly subscription links for both levels 1 and 2 are only on my site from the 15th through the 18th of every given month. I try to collect them to the middle of the month for ease of bookkeeping. And also because the new materials come out around the 20th or 21st every month. So, if everyone's on the list by the 18th, then I know who's getting it. So anyway, be in touch with any questions about that, tom@tdjacobs.com. Thanks for your time and energy. I hope this info is helpful, and I'm looking forward to working with you as a subscriber. Take care.